Shall we begin, sir? Shall we begin, sir?
Madam, wait a second, madam, wait a second.
Okay.
I request to Dr. Anita, madam, kindly start the session, madam.
Shall we start, sir?
Yes, madam. Yes, madam. Madam, till now not started live streaming, please.
Yeah, it is started already.
Okay.
Started, sir. I put the link in the chat box.
Namaste to all. This is the third day of the workshop on Indian knowledge system, Bharatiya Jnana Parampara. And today's session, I welcome once again Madam Anantalakshmi Garu for this third day session on Panchakosha development, Chaturdasha Vidya, Ashtadasa Vidyasthanas, Nyaya, logic and epistemology, concept of Shruti and Smriti. And as already Madam was introduced on day one, but yet I would like to give a brief reintroducing Ma'am to this August gathering. Matrashri Anantalakshmi Garu is a founding guru of Anadi Foundation and is a this is a social and spiritual organization for well-being of all. And as Madam has given us so many illustrations from the technology point, Madam is a well versed in MS Information Systems, and she has done it from State University of New York and has more than a decade of teaching and research experience in the academia, and visiting faculty to international universities. And Anadi Foundation, as we have been continuously from past 2 days into the kind of activities that have been taken up, we were really interested and overwhelmed with the kind of activities that are taken by the foundation, madam, about the 3 gurukulams which are based on Indian knowledge systems and whose foundation works were closely associated with IKS, with the Ministry of Education. And now it is, we all know that higher education institutions and the curriculum, especially, is a mandate. The UGC has given us a mandate to introduce this Indian knowledge systems, and we have introduced very successfully into 24-26 batch of curriculum of B.Ed and M.Ed. So in this context, madam, once again, we would like to hear from you on this beautiful concepts of Bharatiya Jnana Parampara. Welcome you to the session, and the session is all yours. Thank you.
Namaste, everyone. Very happy to be back again as part of these sessions. Let us begin with an invocation. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. In the past 2 days, we have been setting the context for IKS, especially relevant for the College of Education, both for the faculty members and the students. We have looked at a little bit of how Indian knowledge systems is organized and the historical aspects of IKS and how, in a way, the beautiful tree perished because of certain policies that were set in the past. But now that we have the national education policy, the new education policy, that is that guides us to bring back the glorious past in terms of research, education, and dissemination of Indian knowledge systems. It's very important that all of us gain exposure to the various aspects of IKS. In today's session, we will be delving a little more into looking at some of the frameworks from Indian knowledge system that are relevant to teachers. As always, we'll begin with some questions and interactions. If you can answer what you can look at all these three questions and just give a common answer. No need to answer question by question. Please share your thoughts on all these questions. What should be the purpose of education? Is the current system fulfilling the purpose? And what are some of the issues that you observe? If some of you can share, we can take it forward from there.
Participant, kindly unmute your audio as well as video also. By that, you will be recorded. Kindly interact, please.
Hello, good afternoon, madam.
Yes, sir.
This is Dr. Balachandran from YPR College of Education, Medak, madam. The question number 1 is there, what should be purpose of education nowadays?
Sir, kindly unmute your video also, sir. Video also, and share your view on this purpose of education, please.
Yeah. We are able to see sir's video. If you can share your thoughts on what should be the purpose, is the current system fulfilling the purpose, and what are some of the issues that you observe? It'll be easy to take forward the discussion from there. Somebody has put in the chat box, the purpose of education is to attain holistic development.
Good afternoon, madam. Purpose of education is nothing but regulate the lifestyle of the individual, design of lifestyle of the individual. Holistic development is nothing but, I think, my view, we have to design, regulate lifestyle of individual.
Wonderful, sir. Can anyone share if the current system is fulfilling the purpose, and what are some of the issues that we observe?
Present current system not fulfilling individual needs and desires and society demands, but particular zone of people, what they expecting, that much only fulfilling.
Anyone else?
Very good afternoon, madam. So I am going to discuss about what are the issues that you observe in our education system. Madam, now presented to, so according to LEP 2020 structure 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4, so whenever I have visited the purpose of my PhD, so here, so the first point is the here, so there is no proper resources in the schools. This is the first point. At the same time, so teachers are, what are the present species requirement? They are not to enhance their skills. At the same time, they are not to collaborate with teachers, students, teachers, parents. So here, what is happening? We cannot provide any kind of value education in our society. So these are the some observations from the secondary schools in Telangana. Thank you, madam. Thank you so much.
Very true, sir. There is no collaboration, proper collaboration, and lack of resources are there. And because of which so many issues are created. Thank you so much, sir. Anybody else wants to share?
Oh, hello, madam. This is Gomti from Srinidhi College of Education. If the purpose of education is to make living more, what should I say, economic empowerment and then a more comfortable lifestyle, yes, to some extent we are able to do that. But if the purpose of education is to make people happy, help people live a stress-free life, and then, protecting the nature and saving the resources and stuff like that, then we are actually, we are miserably failed in that particular aspect. That is what I feel. Thank you.
Very true, ma'am. When it comes to economic development, to some extent, we are fulfilling the purpose. But when it comes to, say, for example, conserving nature, making people happy, taking care of themselves, we see that there is a huge gap with respect to fulfilling that particular need. I'll take one more response and then progress in the presentation.
Hello, ma'am. This is Kiranmay from MNR PG College. Ma'am, what I feel is that current system is not fulfilling the purpose wholly. Like there is more of political intervention in any system of education, be it private schools or be it government schools. The political intervention is more, ma'am. Unless and until it is reduced to minimum level, I think the current system may fulfill the purpose of providing proper education to each and everyone.
Very, very true, ma'am. What you say is because now we see that because of a political system in place that interacts with the educational system, what happens is that there is only there are a set of codified rules that are designed to say that this is the only kind of curriculum that the child can go through. Say, for example, if it's biology, right? The curriculum is set at a level of the center or at the level of the state, and this is the only view of the human system, right? But the views of Ayurveda, the views of Siddha, the views of Unani, the views of homeopathy, all these are not included in the process, right? So what happens is that if it's a political process, then it's very difficult to cater to the diversity, because when it comes to political process, it will always be to do with some kind of a standardization. So as you say, it's very right that many things have been politicized, even if it's private education. So what happens is that as an educational administrator or as an educational leader, one starts keeping on fighting with the system and keeping on working on the regulations, so much so that the fundamental purpose for which a school is started or an educational institution is started becomes very difficult to keep up with. So all of you have pointed nice points here. There are some points in the chat box as well. So here, when we look at the Indian context, this is a very, very important thing to know, not just as teachers, but also as people who live in Bharat, who have been born in Bharat, who lead a life in Bharat, right? So the fundamental purpose of human life is called Purushartha, right? So Purushartha is from Indian philosophy that encompasses fundamental goals and pursuit of human life. Purusha means the individual. Okay, Purusha does not just refer to a male; it refers to an individual. And Artha means purpose or goal. So there are four purposes of human existence or human life, which we call Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. This is a very, very crucial aspect of our lives. Dharma is, each of these words have many meanings, right? And they vary according to the context. So we cannot translate directly dharma is duty, okay? But one of the meanings we can take it as duty and righteousness. So dharma refers to a set of moral code and ethical duties and our larger responsibility in life. It involves adhering to certain codes of context that we have set for ourselves, which the family sets, which the society sets, which the larger nation sets, and the universal sets, right? The larger rhythm of nature also, in a way, aligning with it is also dharma. And dharma age varies according to the age, gender, circumstances. And fulfilling one's dharma is seen as essential for maintaining an order and balance in the society. So when we say that we lead a dharmic life, it means that we are leading a life which is aligned with the larger societal processes, the larger universal processes, the larger forces of nature as well, right? So violating those things means we are leading an adharmic life. But let's not go into that. Artha means it's a pursuit of material wealth and success. So whatever we do, if it is goal oriented, we work towards something. We work towards material prosperity. That is called artha. Okay. So it could be related to economic stability, career, financial security. Somebody was sharing the purpose of education is economic development. So it means if suppose purpose of education is only economic development, then it means that we are having an artha centric education, right? Now what has happened? Say for example, the industry is growing in a certain way, more number of jobs are created in computer science. So what happens, most of the students will choose computer science as their profession, and because more students are choosing computer science, a lot of computer science and skill related courses will start flowing into the school as well. That is why we see ads, right? Teach programming to your preschool kid, teach programming to your primary school kid, right? Then what happens that the entire curriculum, the entire outcome starts getting designed to fulfill the industrial needs. Then it becomes a very artha-centric educational process. So that is why we need a much more holistic framework to understand what is the core purpose of education. The Purushartha can actually bring out the core purpose of education. Kama is the pursuit of sensual and emotional pleasures, desire, love, and even aesthetic experience, right? And moksha, it is to do with the larger liberation, where we break free from the cycle of limitation and where we don't identify ourselves with just one particular role, right? I am only this. I am only a family person. I'm only a teacher. We break free of those identities and understand our larger purpose in life. So imagine a student going through education. When you ask the student, what is the purpose of what you are doing, why you are studying? So a student could say, I'm studying in order to get marks so that I'll get a good job, right? Or the student could say, I just came to school because, or college because I thought it's all about entertainment, right? So in the movies, schools and I mean colleges especially are projected as centers of entertainment. Most of it is to do with watching movies and canteens and all that. But anybody who goes through college education clearly knows it's not just about entertainment. But then if the student identifies that to be the primary purpose of coming to a college, then it means it's a very karma centric, doing only for pleasure, doing only for desire and entertainment, right? And artha is wealth. So when a student identifies that I'm going through education only for the sake of a job, then it means it's a very artha-centric approach. But if a student says that I'm attending college or school in order to learn, in order to be of benefit to the society, so that others can also learn, so that I can lead my life appropriately in resonance with nature, in resonance with the society, then it means it's a dharma-centric purpose of education, right? The moksha part, we can leave it. It's very spiritual in nature. We need not focus on it now. But at least dharma, artha, and kama, let us be clear. So when we design an educational ecosystem, some of you might be interested in starting your own educational institutions, right? So what is the primary purpose for which the institution has been created? That has to be clear in one's mind. Only then it trickles to the student. And whenever you meet a student or when you teach in class, right? Define the purpose of education. What is the true purpose of education? Or why is the student coming to college, or why is the student coming to school? It is not just to get marks or a job. It is not just to fulfill one's pleasure. Of course, you can always go on a vacation, right? But it is for the student to learn and then develop a larger responsibility towards the society. So that is why in Sanskritam or in Hindi, I don't know, in Telugu maybe also, Vidyarthi is the word for student, because for whom Vidya is the Artha. Artha means purpose. For whoever Vidya or knowledge or learning or education is the purpose, that person is called a Vidyarthi, right? So this understanding the Purushartha and leading one's life accordingly, leading the life of a student, designing an educational ecosystem based on the Purushartha can be very, very fulfilling. Just take a minute to go through the Purushartha. Then we will go to the next segment. So when you design an educational system based on the Purushartha, these are some of the questions that you can ask yourself. How will the educational system embed values aligned with the Purushartha? What will you do to implement various aspects of the educational ecosystem to fulfill the Purushartha? This is something that you can reflect today. Okay. You need not answer it right away. What if one or more Purusharthas are absent? What would it look like? For example, if dharma is absent, what will happen? So, suppose an education system is working only towards artha, which is money, and kama, the pleasure of the student, then the larger purpose of education is lost. But suppose an institution is running only for the larger purpose. We need money to run the institution, right? So, artha is also needed in the process. If only artha and dharma are there, but nobody is interested in the education process, then kama is absent in that scenario. So, like that, one can look at an imbalanced system and learn a lot from it. So, when we look at the larger education system around us, we can reflect on what is missing, whether it is dharma chintana or whether it is the motivation of the students, or what is missing in the system which is not fulfilling this framework of the Purushartha. Okay. Now I'm asking more questions. You can answer these. You can unmute and answer. What is the focus of current education? What could be some changes in the focus of education? How is educational outcome measured currently? What could be some changes? Any of these questions, please feel to share your opinion. You can unmute and answer.
Good afternoon, ma'am. This is Soumya Jaswal from MNR College of Education, Kukatpalli. So I want to discuss about the what is the focus of current education. Mainly, I think that it should emphasize on the critical thinking skills, problem solving. It should be like a creativity. The main is collaboration, and how to like prepare the students for digital technology. Nowadays we are working online, so how we need to tackle them? How the next for a technology driven there are many like codings, the digital tools are there, and even online safety skills are also there. So I think that should be that we need to focus, and mainly based on like a student centered learning, I think.
Very good, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Yes.
ma'am.
Anybody else wants to share?
Present education, it's completely focused on skill based and vocational based.
Yes, ma'am. So just to give a perspective on these questions, what is the current focus of the current educational process? Though at the policy level, though at the vision level, a lot of things are spoken about as the focus of the current education in terms of developing individual potential. But then ultimately, what we are able to deliver as part of the education is quite limited that way. Just take up, if you look at the timetable of a school, right? You will see that you have English, you have language, say Telugu or Tamil, then you have the sciences, then you have environmental sciences, social sciences, or whatever. Then you have mathematics, and then weekly once or twice you have a physical education period, and weekly once or only you have an art period or whatever it is, right? And what happens is that the teacher basically comes into the class and is given 45 minutes to deliver the session. And then what happens? There are so many number of chapters to be covered in a year, and there are monthly tests or continuous assessments that are given, right? So what happens? The feeling of the student is that they're continuously preparing for various tests of the various subjects. And throughout the week, if you see, the student is context switching from one subject to another. And hence, what happens is that overall, the creativity comes down. Unless and until the school system itself is designed, there are a lot of alternate schools that talk about creativity and all that. Unless and until at a systemic level, if it is designed, or if it is not designed that way, then the student, what happens is that there is a lot of focus on the cognitive development of the child in terms of memorizing the content, solving certain math problems, or knowing certain principles of science, right? But then what happens? The knowledge becomes very sort of centered on the textbook that is there, right? And what is the educational? How is the educational outcome measured currently? At the end of the year or the end of the term, all that the child gets is a report card that is given, right? So the report card gives some grades or marks, and there are some remarks which are written by the teacher. So what happens? The student also grows up believing that marks are the fundamental thing that is paid importance to as part of the education, where the child spends from morning 9 to say 4 p.m. A good chunk of the day is spent in the school. So whether no marks are given for values in the report card, for moral character, for helping another student, for taking care of plants, for being for being very close to nature. So none of this is rewarded as part of the educational process, unless it is set as a vision by the school administrator at the level of the subjects, at the level of a class. This is never brought out. So what we all grew up thinking that marks are the primary outcome of the education process, and that is what is expected of me. And when we fail to deliver that, right, when we go less in marks, right, everybody, all of us would have scored less in some subject or the other, right? Or at least most of many subjects also, some of us would have scored low marks, right? But then, because we are not able to meet this outcome which has been set by the system, there is a lot of mental health issues that we go through. Could start at a very simple level of sorrow. Sometimes some children are very gifted; they just forget it and then they move on from there. But then there are some homes where parent insists that their child should get above 90, 95, or 100. And then there is a lot of pressure put on the child because that is how the outcome is defined. That is why a more holistic framework is needed in the way the educational outcomes are designed, right? So, what could be some changes? If two or three of you can share your points quickly, we can move forward from there.
Hello, ma'am. Good afternoon, ma'am. This is Lavanya from MNRPG Patpally. Ma'am, the changes is that we need to teach the students in such a way that if any problem they face in the future, if any problems comes to them in the future, they should face that problem, ma'am. In that way, we need to make our children's way, ma'am.
Very true.
Thank you,
What
ma'am.
problems in life they face, they should be able to solve it. Someone else?
Hello, ma'am. This is Sindhu from MNR College. So, what I would suggest is that we should go for the holistic development, not just the academics, but also the non academics, which has to be given the equal importance. This will definitely help the child to grow, like as a person, I would say, as an individual to the society, which will definitely make a change.
We need to teach the students in such a way that, ma'am, emotional learning should be, and each and everything, whatever they face in the whatever it comes into the future, they should have. They should. 1 minute, ma'am. They should have that much thing that they have to face. We need to teach them in such a way, ma'am. Emotional learning should be, and personality development, it should be, ma'am.
Very true. Now children grow up with lot of like hypersensitivity, right? So the moment you tell them something very simple, also they get very offended. Then there's a lot of emotional upheaval that they go through, even if it's a small pointing out of a mistake or something like that. They become very sensitive to that. So even developing robust emotional health becomes very important. So some of you would have taught young students, right? So when we talk about holistic development and all that, how practical is it to have holistic development? How easy is it to integrate it into the school curriculum or schedule or whatever it is? If some of you can share your experience based on your own experience, we can move forward from there. Let me share an instance, then maybe some of you can respond. Like suppose, I've developed a value-based curriculum. I go to the school and tell them that these are some of the values that are important for students to, imbibe. Then the immediate response comes is, sorry, we don't have, provision in the timetable. Already students have so much to study. How can we integrate this? Teachers are not trained in this. We don't know how to teach that. So typically these issues come up. So what has been your experience along these lines when it comes to holistic education?
Yeah, namaste, madam. Yes, truly, you just encouraged us to thought-provoking questions with this. Along with the curriculum, we need to include all these the value-oriented and add-on courses along with the curriculum only. No need to give the separate portion or separate phase for that value inculcation. Suppose with respect to that language, we can bring all these the Purusharthas through this language inculcation and all. Likewise, that your humanities and science and technology, what all the need of the hour is demanding. So we need to include in the syllabus only. So that is why in that Usman University recently the curriculum has been revised and adding that these value added course and that ability enhancement and value added course in irrespective of that semesters, madam. So truly you are that the thought provoking interaction is you have opened. Thank you very much, madam. It is very wonderful. Thank you, madam.
What you say is true, sir. If it is a standalone course, it's very difficult to implement. But if it is integrated with the curriculum, say even physics or chemistry or math can talk about perseverance, it can talk about patience, even so, if it is inbuilt into the syllabus itself, then it becomes very easy to implement rather than having one value education period. So the entire ecosystem has to be remodeled to inculcate these values. So there is a lot of work happening at different fronts. I will also share some experiences how we did it in our own Gurukulam, and then many such institutions are there that have implemented. So here in this context, it becomes very useful to look at what is called the Panchakoshiya Vikas. The NCF, which is the National Curricular Framework, also talks, NCF document also talks about the Panchakoshiya Vikas or Panchakosha development. So the word Panchakosha is taken from the Upanishads. It is found in the Taittiriya Upanishad, okay, where there is a story of how the discovery happens that you're not just the body, you're not just the prana, you're not just the mind, or you're not just the intellect, but you are something beyond that. So whenever we talk about who we really are, our true self, our Vedantic texts talk about Panchakosha Atita. Atita means beyond that. So beyond the Panchakosha. So when we say I, right, that I is not just limited to the body or the mind or the intellect, but it goes beyond the Panchakosha. Panchakosha Tita. So what are the Panchakosha? Annamayakosha, Pranamayakosha, Manomayakosha, Vijnanamayakosha, and Anandamayakosha. It is written here in the cyclical order, okay, clockwise. So it is Annamayakosha, Pranamayakosha, Manomayakosha, Vijnanamayakosha, and Anandamayakosha. This is a very important concept to look at in the context of education. Okay. So here, when you look at Annamayakosha, it is to do with the aspect of the system, right, which is sustained and develops because of the food that we eat. Okay. That is why it is called Annamayakosha. So what is the component in our system that is sustained and grows because of the food that we eat? It is the physical body, right? We were a small child, and as we intake food, we grow up to be very healthy individuals, right? Or our bones and muscles and everything grows, right? So that is called Annamayakosha. The physical structure is called Annamayakosha. Whether it is a tree, whether it is an animal, all those living things, whichever is the physical structure over there, like the bones, the muscles, the blood, the flesh, and all that. That is all the various organs, the skin, all this put together form the Annamayakosha. The Annamayakosha, according to our Shastras, goes through various stages. Asti jayate, vardhate, viparinamate, apakshiyate, and vinashyati. So it exists, it is born, it grows, right? And then eventually it sort of decays and then is destroyed. Okay. And this is what is called the Annamayakosha. If you take a tree for that matter, or a sapling, right? If the sapling grows into a tree, it matures, it gives fruit, and eventually it decays and dies, right? So that the physical component of the tree is called the Annamayakosha. In the aspect of Annamayakosha, how to develop the Annamayakosha? It is to do with paying attention to the food that we eat. That is why knowledge of Ayurveda becomes important. According to Ayurveda, the balance of the doshas, Vata, Pitta, and Kapha leads to good health. The imbalance of the doshas, Vata, Pitta, Kapha leads to illness. So what is Vata, Pitta, and Kapha? Vata is the principle of movement in the body. We move our legs and hands. We are able to speak, right? Everything functions in the body because of prana, and that is Vata. That is the air. Pitta is the principle of transformation. The food that we eat is transformed into energy. The information that we gather is transformed into knowledge. All this is because of Pitta. And Kapha is the process of the function of growing up. Whatever, we develop muscles, we develop, bones, all this grows, right? That is because of Kapha. So when children are very young, the Kapha dosha is predominant. In the youth stage, Pitta dosha is predominant. That's why they say when you are young, when you are a youth, they say what even if you eat a stone, it should digest, right? And in the old age, vata is predominant. That is why we find people, they have leg pain, hand pain, very difficult to walk, voice becomes feeble, the overall back also starts to bend and all that, right? So vata dosha is predominant in the old age. And the balance of the doshas is needed in order to lead a good health. If kapha is more, right, you would see that young children, especially school children, they will keep falling sick, they will have a cough, they will have a cold. It's a very frequent thing because in that stage, that is the imbalance that occurs. But then if we don't pay attention to the food that they eat, for example, sweets, too many sweets, having too many sweets, imbalance is the kapha dosha. Okay. Then what happens? Then that leads to further congestion, chest congestion, and all that. So, children, when they are growing up, we have to pay attention that we don't overfeed them with too many sweets, right? A balanced diet is needed, which is the balance of all the taste, right? Taste means shadrasa, 6 taste: amla, which is sour, madhura, sweet, lavana, salty, tikta is bitter, katu is pungent, kashaya is astringent. Okay. Just let me ask you for some examples because this is something that you will also need to teach others, right? So, can you give me some examples of amla foods, sour foods? Please be quick in your responses so that we
Like
can.
tamarind, we use.
Yes, ma'am.
And we use what you say, the raw mango, lemon,
Raw mango.
orange, the
Orange.
fruits part. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Very good. Madhura rasa, anyone?
Yeah, like we usually see in the rasam they put the jaggery.
Jaggery, yes. So that is madhura. Rasa means taste. Honey, very good. Honey is also sweet.
Honey.
Lavana, salt.
Yeah, that's a. There are different types of salts that we are using these days.
Yes.
We have black salt, we have say in the red color salt. All those salts we are using in balance.
Correct. And tikta taste, bitter.
Bitter.
Karela, bitter gourd, very good.
Bitter.
Yes. And the neem.
We in methi also, ma'am, we have that bitterness.
Methi. Yes, yes.
Methi. When you do that seasoning, we use a little bit of methi. That
Yes.
makes it balanced.
Very good. Katu, pungent, spicy, karam.
Okay.
Pepper.
Pepper, very good.
Chili.
Chili, yes, sir. And what about kashaya, which is astringent taste? Astringent is like our raw banana. When you eat the peel of a raw banana, you have a taste, right? Puckering taste. Or if you have some tea leaves, then in your
Yes, yes, ma'am.
taste, right? So that is called kashaya taste, which is called astringent. Okay. So now you can tell me, if you eat too many sweets, what dosha gets imbalanced?
Kapha dosha.
Kapha dosha. Very good. If you eat too much karam, what dosha gets imbalanced? Karam is spicy. I don't know in Telugu, I think also it's karam. What
Yes, ma'am.
dosha gets, what dosha gets imbalanced when you eat too much karam?
Pitta.
Pitta. Very good, ma'am. What happens when we eat, say, for example, too much bitter taste? Vata gets imbalanced. Also, if you eat too many potatoes, Vata gets imbalanced. Okay. Can you give me one example of a food or a vegetable or whatever it is which increases Pitta?
Any acidic food, even your
Acidic.
Sprite.
Very good, ma'am.
Coca-Cola.
All this increases Pitta.
Yes. Anything
After they
acidic.
increases Vata because gas is there. They increase Vata. Any food that increases Kapha?
Madam, sweets, eating more amount of
Sweets.
sweets.
Very good. Sweets. Very good. And
Ice creams.
yeah.
In fact, eating rice.
Rice.
It is like equivalent to 20 spoons of sugar if you're eating a lot of rice.
Yes, ma'am. And vata, any food that increases vata, can you give me example? Vadam, they say.
Bitter gourd.
A bitter gourd, yes. Cabbage, cauliflower, all these increases vata. That's why we add a little bit of ginger when we cook cabbage or cauliflower. We add asafoetida, hing, peringayam in the food, right? When we make rasam or when we make the cabbage, whatever, we put all this so that the vata reduces, right? So when you talk to young people, when you talk to children, now I asked you certain questions, right? So suppose I ask, when you eat protein, what do you observe in your body? What would you say?
The strength in muscle. The
Strength in muscle, but is it observable?
It is not observable, but we can say that the child can, feel the stamina that he is getting,
Correct.
the stamina that he is developing.
Correct. Suppose I eat 2 spoons of protein powder. Okay, then what is the impact on my body versus 2 spoons of, okay, 2 spoons is too much, but 1 spoon of pepper. What happens? What do I observe in my body? Right. So what happens is that there is an immediate way to observe when we use the frameworks of Ayurveda. Protein, vitamin, carbohydrate, fat. This framework is very good. Modern science, lot of research has happened. It is there in our textbooks, so no problem with that. But then for a young person, for a child, or for a person who is discovering the process of food, right? We need to know pratyaksha jnana, what is immediately observable. So when you, all of you were able, even if without talking about vata, pitta, kapha, I didn't give you any description of it. You automatically said, if I eat pitta, this increases. I did not give you any prior knowledge of this because all this is observable, all this is part of our cooking, all this is part of our daily routine. So if we need to convince our young children on our own foods, like why we should not eat pizza, but we should eat chapati, right? Something like that. Or why we should not eat junk food, but why we should eat certain foods, right? Then it means the framework of Ayurveda becomes very important, right? So understanding the impact of food on the doshas it becomes very important for the Annamayakosha to develop in a healthy manner. Okay. So what are some of the ways by which Annamayakosha can be kept healthy in the educational context? 1 or 2 points, if you can quickly share, I can just move on from there.
You're talking about food psychology.
Annamayakosha,
Yeah.
the physical structure, how can it be kept healthy?
Yeah, that's actually wonderful. The food psychology that you have
Okay, food
spoken.
psychology, knowing about food psychology. What else? If you can stop writing on the screen, because
Balance
I'm having
between Vata,
a
Pitta, and Kapha. We
bal-
have to have this balance
yes,
through which
yeah,
harmony can be developed in our body, mind, and
very
soul.
good. So balancing the
So,
doshas. How can you balance
yeah,
the doshas?
yeah, as you said just now, taking the things in proportion.
Proportion.
So when you are taking things proportionately, your body reactions will be different. When your
Yes.
body is reacting differently, your mental health will be different. And with your mental health, there will be an impact on your own soul. And this is connected together. So
Very
the
good.
unity of all these three things can happen when there is harmony within you.
Very good. Very good. Excellent points. So here, if you see the Annamaya Kosha, since it's the physical dimension, there are various ways to keep it healthy. There are various indic ways to keep it healthy also, right? Having a balanced diet, traditional games, adequate exercise, yoga asanas at appropriate ages. All these build gross and fine motor skills. Okay. And age specific balanced physical development, physical fitness, flexibility, strength, endurance, development of the senses, nutrition, personal health, all these principles ensure that the individual remains healthy, has a good physical body. And it is important that we incorporate this into the schedule of any school, any educational ecosystem that we run. Even if you're in a B.Ed college, ensure that at least there is some part allocated to asanas or playing outside, right? When I go to the colleges or when I go to and ask the students or faculty, how many of you play? Only one or two hands go up. Most of the people have lost the habit of just being outside and playing, right? So all these become important for the development of the Annamayakosha. Pranamayakosha, okay? Pranamayakosha is the energy and the neural circuit that is there that helps us to act in this world. For example, I'm able to grasp something, right? Because of there is a neural connection that happens. When we lose that neural connection, it becomes difficult to grasp a particular object, right? And I'm able to speak again because of the neural connections. So whatever activities I perform in this world, it's because of the various neural connections and the energy that circulates in the body with the form of prana. Okay. So the pancha prana, prana, apana, samana, udana, and dhyana, these make the pancha prana. And the karmendriya, the 5 actions in terms of speech, grasping, moving, and this excretion and reproduction. All these are part of the pranamaya kosha. Okay. So if we need the child to grow up in a healthy manner, we need to ensure that the child has good prana flowing through the entire system, right? So what are some of the ways by which the energy can be kept active throughout the day, even for yourself, even for the child? If you can share 1 or 2 points, we'll move from there. How do we ensure that the child, the neural circuits are working and the energy is maintained in the child? Most of the child development psychology models that we study do not talk about any Indic framework. That's a great disservice for people who are studying B.Ed and M.Ed in India. Most of it is to do with Western frameworks. That's why understanding the Panchakosha becomes very crucial. The more we reflect on it, the more we understand it, the more examples that we bring out, the more we will be clear about the purpose of education and how to impart it. We could be a physics teacher, but we can still build Panchakoshya Vikas into our schedule. So how do we ensure that the prana flows to the child? Simple thing, learning to breathe appropriately, right? Learning to breathe in a way that provides necessary oxygen for the entire body, training the voice to speak out appropriately. All these actually enhance the prana. And even movement, which ensures circulation of energy throughout the body. Then breathing practices, increasing the lung capacity, speaking out, simple tricks, climbing up the mountain. All these ensure that they increase the lung capacity and we intake the amount of oxygen that is required by the system. And also activating the parasympathetic and sympathetic system. All these ensure that there is a pranamaya kosha development that happens. Next comes the Manomayakosha, which is the manas, which is the mind, and the pancha, 5 senses. Okay. Here it's all in Sanskritam. Don't worry about it. Even if you speak, even in Telugu, you will be able to relate to most of these terms. Okay. Mind is to do with the movement of thoughts, right? Sometimes our thoughts are focused, sometimes it is just dissipated. That's the nature of the mind. It keeps on flowing. Thoughts keep on flowing. There's no way to stop unless one is in a yogic state. There is no way to stop the thoughts. So the thoughts are filled with preferences, raga, likes, and dislikes, which is dvesha. I like ice cream. I like physics. I don't like mathematics. I like drawing. I don't like to go to school. whatever it is, right? So raga and dvesha, this is what the mind oscillates between, right? And we interact with things based on raga and dvesha. Even our Instagram feed, right? That comes based on our raga and dvesha. Suppose you keep liking certain kinds of videos, that's what you keep getting for yourself, right? And the mind is also filled with kama, desire, krodha, and anger, lobha, greed, moha, attachment, and you have jealousy, and many such qualities are there. And you have the pancha jnanendriya in terms of the the five senses: seeing, visual senses, auditory senses, tactile senses, gustatory senses, and then olfactory senses, which is to do with seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, and then smelling, right? And the mind, the participation of the mind is very important for this particular the senses to work, right? For example, if you are just looking at the screen, your eyeballs are looking at the screen, no doubt. But without the participation of your mind, you wouldn't record anything, right? Your eyes are seeing it, but you won't be able to read anything. Your mind is elsewhere, right? So the participation of the mind along with the senses is required in order for the Manomayakosha to function. Okay. So what are some of the ways by which the Manomayakosha can be healthy? How can children, or how can we build emotional resilience in children? If you can share 1 or 2 points. How can we improve the emotional health of children? Can you share 1 or 2 points?
We can share good sankalpas like that.
Sorry?
And we can share the sankalpas, positive sankalpas, not
Positive
vikalpas.
sankalpas. Affirmations can be there. Very good, sir.
And we should try to give the examples of the Shedripus.
Correct.
The children, that is more
Stories.
important.
From
They can control
stories
the
we can give. Yeah.
Ripus.
Very true. We can give from the stories, we can give about the Kshatripus. Like we can talk about, say, Duryodhana, how he was jealous, right? All these stories can be brought up.
And especially we can use the Panchatantra.
Panchatantra can be given.
We must focus on artistic development, madam, specifically painting, drawing, music, and instrumental skill.
Very true, sir.
Students must focus minimum one instrumental skill. By that, they can develop their emotional quotient.
Very true, sir. Aesthetic skills need to
Back to you. My channel is Cognitive Colors. I believe each thought, each cognition has a color we are associated with it. That can be to Edward de Bono's 6 thinking hats also, and where he tries to, plug in the emotion and try to, fit that into a particular color. So yes, that really, really makes sense.
Very good. Very good. So here, one is to develop, people, engaging in seva. This really helps, to develop this. For example, children at our Gurukulam, they do Annadanam to the needy people. So that builds in a lot of, emotional connect with the society for people who need, right? Even visual and performing arts, culture, literature, all these ensure that there is a good Manomayakosha development. Vijnanamaya is to do with cognitive development. Okay, there are cognitive executive functions like attention control, cognitive inhibition, working memory, cognitive flexibility, and all that. And pratyaksha, anumana, upamana, and shabda. These are the ways by which we learn, which I will talk about it later. And buddhi is that which is determinate. Okay, the mind goes here and there, but when we make a decision or when we identify something, then the buddhi, it is functioning, right? So, for example, if you take an ice cream and you say this ice cream is strawberry ice cream, it is pink in color, it is the brand quality walls, it is 40 rupees or something like that, right? Then it means you are processing it with your buddhi. The moment you see an ice cream, you think, wow, I love ice creams. During my childhood, I used to have so many strawberry ice creams. Now I don't get a chance to have strawberry ice cream. So that means there is some emotion attached to it. So it is means that you're processing it with your manas. And the beauty about stories is that the manas and buddhi both come together. When you are narrating a story, there is also some categorization, classification, learning that is happening. But at the same time, there is also an emotional connect that happens. That is why telling stories is a very, very effective way to convey the message to young children. The cognitive attention functions like attention, memory, all these play an important role, right? So here I'll talk about a study because we are talking about cognition. This is called the Sanskrit effect. Okay, just take a minute to go through this, and I will explain to you. So here, if you see, James Hartzell was a neuroscientist who coined the term the Sanskrit effect. He reports that Indian tradition holds that rigorously memorizing and reciting mantras enhances memory and thinking. So Hartzell teamed up with Dr. Tanmay Nath and Nandini Chatterjee of the National Brain Research Center in Haryana. So the Indo-Italian team analyzed the brain regions of 21 Shukla Yajurveda students aged 22 and 21 and age-matched control volunteers and found some remarkable differences between the two. So they found the gray matter in the Pandits to be denser and the cortex to be thicker in the control than the control group. And the hippocampus regions associated with long and short-term memory was more pronounced in the case of the Pandits. A similar experiment, again using Vedic Pandits, was done earlier by Giridhar Kalamangalam, and such things are there, right? So here, if you see, just the process of chanting could be Bhagavad Gita, could be the Vedas, or memorizing any padyams of Telugu, poems in Telugu, right? So all these enhance certain regions of the brain. So we have lost that as part of the curriculum. In the name of building analytical and critical thinking, what we are doing is that we are trying to build these thinking capabilities right from grade 1, which is just 6 years of age. No harm in developing critical thinking at that age, but until the age of 8, the memory capability of the child is very, very high. They say that until the age of 8, they can learn 8 languages, right? So what we are doing is that we are not giving opportunity for the child to make use of the memory component. We only focus on analytical skills, right? I clearly remember my father used to share how when he was young, he learned the addition tables. He learned the 1 by 8 table. He learned the 1 by 16 table. But all of this is not part of the education. Of course, the multiplication table technique and how to derive it and derivations and all that, such that the simple process of memorization the child loses. And then after many years, the child is not having any clue as to how to solve that particular problem, right? So a combined, a concerted effort is required in terms of bringing some of these aspects. So when we say chanting, when we chant these verses, one, of course, it's not just to do with the verses that we learn, okay? but certain fundamental memory capabilities are built. That is why all children should be introduced to some form of chanting or the other. Okay. So don't worry. The moment we say chanting, people then wonder, I belong to a different religion or I belong to a different community. So how do I do this? But then, as shown the study, the chanting process itself enhances memory. So whatever is relevant, one can chant. There are so many. For example, the one that we chanted in the beginning. It is not just to do with some religion. It talks about how one can realize one's full potential and that one is divine, right? So if such chantings are included where it is possible for everybody to chant, then the memory capability of all the children are built. Samskaras and smriti. This is again a very important aspect. The samskaras refer to impressions or imprints that are left in the mind. And smriti is developed because of memory or repeated practice. Okay. When you do repeated practice, then it's a memory, but it also becomes a samskara or a habit or a value. It becomes part of your value system. For example, there is a child that walks on the street and notices some garbage paper on the ground, on the road. Child looks at the paper and is able to identify, oh, this is a newspaper. The identification is because the child has seen newspaper before and is able to now identify it. So that is using the buddhi. But then the child says, oh, it should not be lying on the road. Let me pick it up and put it in the dustbin. Then it means we have built the samskara by repeatedly telling the child that if you see something on the road, pick it up and then put it in the dustbin. Or you don't throw garbage, always use the dustbin, right? Or segregate the waste. So what happens? You build that habit of segregating the waste. The moment this child sees wet waste, they'll put it in an appropriate dustbin. The moment the child sees a dry waste, they put it in the appropriate dustbin. The moment the child sees a battery or a glass, they process it differently, right? So by training, repeated process, one is memory, but then it also becomes a deep-seated value for a latent, becomes latent and potent. Latent and potent means at the appropriate time, it flowers. So the samskaras that we build when the child is young, when the child is in school, are very, very crucial. Okay. So that they are latent and potent, and at an appropriate time, they actually manifest. When they are older, then it tends to manifest. So I was having a conversation with a neuroscientist. The neuroscientist told me that people, studied in a particular preschool in Bangalore. I don't remember the school, earlier times. And he said that all the people who studied from the preschool or kindergarten school now are all very successful people who are very, very value oriented people. So the neuroscientist was sharing how at that foundational age when something was given, immediately the results are not aware, visible. This child might still be naughty or, crying or be a bit fussy or whatever. But after the age of 21, the kind of values that these children displayed or the citizens displayed was remarkable compared to somebody who had not gone to that particular kindergarten school. So he said that these values that are imparted at a very early stage definitely have an impact on the chitta of the child, right? So it is when we say education, it is the purpose is to build the right kind of samskaras so that one is carried in the memory. It is also latent and potent. When an appropriate time comes, then it starts to flower. Vijnanamaya how can it be built? Analytical skills, imagination, creativity, language development, listening to it, chanting, and then memorizing, or getting introduced to wide variety of sciences, math, all this languages, all this develops the Vijnanamaya kosha. Anandamaya kosha, it is to do with developing overall happiness in life, right? Aham karta, ahankaraha. So ahankara means that here also developing a healthy ahankara. What is meant by developing a healthy ahankara? People will say ahankara is bad, ego is bad. That's not fully true, right? For example, when the child is growing up, giving only positive reinforcements for whatever the child achieves ensures that the child develops a healthy ahankara. Even if a little bit of doubt is instilled in the child, for example, parent might say, look at the report card, immediately say, why have you scored so less, right? The moment, sorry, the moment this question comes, just a minute. The moment this question comes from the parent, why have you scored less, right? Immediately there is a sympathetic activity that is, triggered in the child. The child becomes very closed. They start to reflect. They start to become very, sad about it. They become very closed, not opening up to the parent or to the teacher. Then it takes a lot of effort on our part to calm down the child so that the parasympathetic system can kick in, and then there is a calmness that is restored. Then what happens if we keep asking these questions? The child grows up to believe that the child is not worthy enough in this world. The self-worth of the child becomes very, very low. So these negative reinforcements that we keep giving it in the name of objective feedback to very, very young children. So objective feedback means, suppose for adults, you call a faculty member and say, sir, I've been observing every day you're coming late. Sorry, we have to give you a late fine if you keep coming late, right? Then for an adult, there is some framework to think about why the child is, why I came late, or I should avoid it in the future and all that, right? But at the same level of objectivity, or you call a faculty member and say, sorry, whatever you taught today was very boring to the students. This is a very objective feedback, right? From tomorrow, please make your class very entertaining. Even the faculty member cannot take this feedback. But if you go and give similar kind of an objective feedback to the child, then there is no way that the child can process it. Only positive words the child is able to process that. So up to a certain age, if the child has to develop a good self-worth, then having a positive ahankara becomes very important. And for that, giving positive words is very important. So that, and over a period of time, gently you introduce any critical feedback and comments. Okay. And the natural vibrance of the child has to flow. There should be a happiness that flows. That ensures that Anandamayakosha. There is nothing to develop the Anandamayakosha. We are all having that kosha. Already it is the kosha of happiness. But just that we need to remove the wheels that are hiding this happiness. For that, we need to do a lot of things. So happiness, love, compassion, seva, bhajans, music, dance, puja, devotion, all these ensure that the Anandamayakosha develops. So here are some ways. I'll give you a minute to reflect on this. Take a look at this slide. And as you're looking at this slide, I welcome you to share your thoughts on the Panchakoshiya Vikas that we have looked at till now. I'll definitely welcome you to talk about it because this is a very important concept. If you have anything to share on Panchakoshiya Vikas, please do share. It will be beneficial for everybody.
Kindly interact, please. You can share your views on Panchakosha development, please. The participants are requested kindly interact.
Okay, I'll proceed further. So here, in the previous day, I'll just go to previous slides. So here we had looked at what is called Ashtadasa. We are going to the next segment of the presentation, which is to do with Ashtadasa Vidyasthana. We have the 4 Vedas, the Vedangas, Upaveda, and the other aspect, Purana, Nyaya, Mimamsa, and Dharma Shastra. Okay. So this is what we will be looking at in this particular segment. So the Ashtadasha Vidyasthana Ashtadasa Vidyasthana refer to the 18 traditional branches of learning, not just for intellectual growth, but for moral development, spiritual development, cultural development, and all that. So these disciplines include the Vedas, Vedangas, and other related sciences. The framework was integral to the Gurukula system, where students were taught by their gurus in a holistic environment. The aim was not merely the accumulation of knowledge, but the development of character, discipline, and the sense of duty towards the society. Even how to keep oneself healthy, how to keep the mind healthy, all this was part of these knowledge systems. So this is one way of classifying Indian knowledge systems. The Vedas, okay? So Vedas are the oldest bodies of knowledge. There are 4 Vedas, Rig, Yajur, Sama, and Atharva Veda. So as I told you, the Vedas were initially one huge body of knowledge. Then Vyasa Maharishi, Veda Vyasa Maharishi came and then he classified it into 4 branches, Rig, Yajur, Sama, and Atharva, which contains a lot of mantras, rituals, what needs to be performed, and a lot of scientific. If you have to decode the world, decode the reality around you according to say, the Hindu worldview, then the support of the Vedas is required. Okay. You decode the reality around you using the Vedas. The Vedangas, as I told you, is in order to decode the Vedas. If you have to study, if you have to understand my sentence, whatever I'm speaking, you need grammar, you need pronunciation, you need the root word and all that, right? So here the Vedangas are 6 in number. Shiksha, which focuses on proper pronunciation or the science of pronunciation or phonetics, right? Even now, at a young stage, at young age, the children learn about right pronunciation. The problem arises when it is, especially when it is to do with English language. At a very young age, there are a lot of challenges in learning the English language because each word is pronounced in a different way, right? For example, B-O-O-N, it's boon. Whereas B-O-O-K is not book, it is book, right? Like that, there are different challenges when it comes to learning English. Sometimes the letter A is pronounced as A, sometimes A, right? And so many more things, right? So Shiksha is basically the science of phonetics, and especially when it comes to Indian languages like Sanskritam or Telugu, they're all phonetically very consistent. There is only one way to write. Suppose, for example, my name, say Anantalakshmi, right? You can write it as Anantalaxmi or Lakshmi, or you can write Anantha. So there are multiple ways by which you write, and that's how our English spellings vary. Even though 2 people will be there, Anantalakshmi, their spelling might vary in the record notebooks, right? But then when I have to write it in, say, Sanskritam or Telugu or Hindi, there is only one way to write it. There is no other way to write. If you write it in any other way, the pronunciation itself will change, right? So that is the science. Shiksha is that science of phonetics. How do we pronounce And how does the word emerge, and then how does it come out of the mouth, which is called Vaikhari Shabda. Whatever we pronounce outside is Vaikhari Shabda. How does the sound emanate from us, right? Vyakarana is the knowledge of grammar, or it's grammar basically. The rules of correct usage of Sanskritam, which are present in the Vedas. Chandas is the tone in which it has to be chanted. Nirukta is etymology. Where is the root word derived from? Jyotisha is the calculation of various celestial movements. And Kalpa provides the guidelines for various rituals. Okay. Let us go into each of these. Shiksha is basically how the sound is produced, whether the place, for example, you can be on mute, but you can just try pronouncing this. Okay. I think this is also available in Telugu, in Sanskritam also, right? So just try to say these words. Ka, kha, ga, gha, na. Okay. Ka, kha, ga, gha, na. So here, if you see, all the sounds are produced from a certain upper palate region, right? And there is Alpa Prana, ka, and Mahaprana, kha, that is pronounced. So there is a distinction between ka and kha. So this gives scope for more number of words, constructing more number of words. Suppose I say this particular thing. Pa, pa, ba, pa, pa, ba, bha, ma. All these sounds are labial, are produced from the lips, right? Pa, pa, ba, bha, ma. These are the first lessons that are taught to the child. Very, very crucial. Why? Because when you look at the English alphabet, the first is A, B, C, D, E, F. Doesn't seem to be in any logical order. One is produced from, say, opening the mouth. There's something that's afterwards it comes closing the mouth. Suddenly it is produced from the upper palate, right? So then what happens? The child is not sure about, is not trained appropriately to produce the right sounds. And they learn it as A, but when there is a word that they encounter, right? Say, for example, ban, B-A-N, fan, say F-A-N. The A is pronounced as A over there. But nowadays they are teaching phonetics. Okay, good. But not everybody gets it rightly. Correct? So Shiksha, very important to learn the Matru Bhasha or Sanskritam or Hindi, whatever one is comfortable with, other than English. Then only the full range of pronunciations develop in the child. Vyakarana is grammar. Panini's Ashtadhyayi is a text. It guides in the formation of sentences, the rules of the language. If one has to coin a new word, then Vyakarana is needed. It also has a lot of philosophical dimension because it also connects language and thought. Pada and Artha. What is a word? What is the meaning? And how is the word and meaning connected to each other? All this is part of Vyakarana. Okay. Chandas is the study of meter. It focuses on the rhythmic structures of the Vedic chants, and especially number of syllables. Depending on that, you design the particular Vedic chant. I'll show you what chandas is. It's a rhythmic pattern. For example, look at the two words. Okay, I don't know whether all of you can read Devanagiri, but I'm assuming that. The first word, Hari, then Hari. Hari, Hari. So here Hari refers to Vishnu. Hari refers to a pearl. Okay. Hari is made up of two sounds, Ha and Ri. Hari is made up of Ha and Ri. So here if you see, the short vowel is called Laghu. The long vowel is called Guru. Okay. So for example, if you say boon, then it is guru, long. Okay. If I say book, it is short. But unfortunately, in English, you use the same OO for both. That's not right. If you have to write it in the Sanskrit way, you will write book, that small, that is the first O you will write. If you write boon, you'll write the dirgha sound, right? Hraswa and dirgha, you write. So that's a very fundamental difference in learning English versus learning Matrubhasha or Sanskrit. So Pingala's Chandas Shastra, he made a combination of these sounds. Okay. So short vowels a, e, u, r, r. Long vowels a, e, u, r, a, o, I, au. All these are long vowels. Okay. So here, for example, dama means the ma, short and long, right? Laghu, guru. Neela, guru and laghu. Devata, de, guru, va, laghu, ta, guru. Bhakti, guru and laghu. Arjunaha, ar, guru, ju, laghu, naha, guru. So, in order to codify mathematics or Ayurveda in the form of verses, they had to have a specific combinations of words such that the guru, lagu, that pattern is maintained. Okay. Sorry. So, for example, if we are asked to form a 3-syllable pattern, then we have guru, 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 lagu, guru. Like that, we will have multiple combinations and construct a poetry with these combinations. Okay. Nirukta. Nirukta is the science of etymology. It is the study of the origins and meanings of the various words. And it also is to do with the root word. For example, suppose I say Vidyarthi. The root word is vid. Vidyalaya. Root word is vid. Vidwan. Root word is vid. Vishwavidyalaya or Vidya Pitha. Again, root word is vid. Vidya, which is knowledge. Again, root word is vid. So Vidyarthi means one who pursues knowledge. Vidyalaya is the place where you pursue knowledge. Vidya is what you pursue. Vidwan is one who is an expert in that knowledge. So you would see with this one root word vid, which means to know, you are constructing all these words. So Niritta is that science of those root words and how you can derive words out of. Jyotisha is the science of astronomy. It includes the lunar and solar cycles, position of planets and stars. These were very crucial in terms of the various rituals, marriages, namakarana, jatikarana, all those things. It became very important. Kalpa is the study of various. It was present, whatever rituals the Vedic student has to do, and the various dharma shastras, all these put together were part of Kalpa. The study of Kalpa involves learning about different types of sacrifices, that is yajnas, materials required, what each one has to do, and the various processes that are to be followed. This discipline ensured that rituals are performed correctly, preserving their sanctity and effectiveness. So till now we have seen the 4 Vedas, Rig, Yajur, Sama, Atharva. We have seen the 6 Vedangas, which include Nirukta, Vyakarana, Chandas, Jyotisha, Kalpa, and Shiksha, which is to do with phonetics. Okay. Now we look at some of the Upavedas. Ayurveda. Ayurveda is one of the Upavedas which talks about balance of the doshas, Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, leading to good health. Okay. Maintaining the balance of the doshas is crucial for good health. Ayurvedic texts such as Charaka Samhita and Sushruta Samhita offer detailed guidelines on diagnosis, treatment, and preventive care. Ayurveda advocates for a very personalized approach to health, recognizing that each person is unique and requires a tailored care. Through its emphasis on natural and holistic living, Ayurveda continues to be very relevant and effective. As I told you, it is not just to do with some kind of treatment or diagnosis. It is also to do with leading a healthy life where the doshas are balanced. So what routine one needs to follow in terms of dinacharya every day, or one seasonal routine that one needs to follow as ritucharya, and what kind of food that one has to eat according to the daily and schedule as well as the seasons in order to keep oneself healthy, and what even including mental attitudes are given in dinacharya. Dinacharya talks about not to lie, uh, you know not to commit himsa against others, not to be jealous, not to speak ill of others. All this is present in the dinacharya component. It says on a daily basis, you need to follow this routine. Then you will actually be a very healthy person physically and emotionally. Right? I'll just take a minute here and see if there are any questions that you want to ask. Then I'll proceed.
Madam, could you explain the Aranyakas, Brahmanas, Samhitas, and Upanishads in Vedas, in different Vedas? Little bit explanation.
I will probably include that in the next session a little bit.
Thank you.
Yeah. The Upanishads are called Vedanta, which is the end portion of the Vedas, where there are a lot of philosophical aspects of who we really are. The Karma Kanda of the Vedas talk about what are the procedures you need to follow. The Jnana Kanda, also the Vedantic aspects, talk about, okay, now that you have this to do, how can you lead a life which is beyond just these actions, right? So that is to do with the Upanishads.
Could you enlarge about the Puranas and Mimamsa?
Yeah, we'll
18
come to that.
Just a little bit explanation.
Sure. So here, Dhanurveda is the ancient science of warfare and martial arts. It encompasses knowledge and techniques required for combat, weapon, archery. It's not just to do with combat, but also to have mental and spiritual aspects of warfare, right? So this has been the bedrock on which various martial arts in India developed, like Kalaripayattu, Silambam, and all that. Dhanurveda also provides guidelines for management of armies, selection of commanders, how to use various weapons, how to prepare various weapons, and the swords and spears and all that. Dhanurveda also plays a very crucial role in the military traditions of ancient India. So when we look at Mahabharata, a lot of war formations are mentioned, vyuhas are mentioned, like Chakra Vyuha. What is the formation that the army needs to take in order to prevent the enemy from penetrating this army camp? So there will be a lot of formations like that in the shape of various animals and birds and all that, right? So Dhanurveda, of course, is the science of archery, but it also talks about other things as well, how to keep oneself fit and healthy in order to participate better in the warfare. Gandharva Veda is the ancient science of music and dance and performing arts. It is considered the foundation of classical Indian music and dance tradition, encompassing various theory and practice of art forms. The teachings of Gandharva Veda include the study of the ragas, various instruments. Also, it has led to the development of Bharatanatyam, Kathak, Carnatic music, Hindustani music, drama, poetry, Natya Shastra, and so many things have emerged. So this is it. So when we talk about the Indian knowledge systems, it is not just for livelihood, you see, it is also for personal well-being, it is also for entertainment, and so many things included in that. Arthashastra is an ancient Indian treatise on statecraft, economics, and military strategy. It covers a wide variety of topics, including politics, law, diplomacy, economic policies, making it a comprehensive manual for rulers and administrators. So, Arthashastra emphasizes the importance of a strong and efficient state. It advocates a pragmatic approach to governance. And also, it provides detailed instructions on justice, taxation, trade, then bringing economic stability to a country, right? It is the important text on Arthashastra is credited to Kautilya or Chanakya. In Arthashastra, even topics like, Sama, Dana, Beda, Danda are mentioned in terms of how do you handle various situations being in a leadership capability. Samaniti is to do with handling in a diplomatic way such that everybody, there is no offense that is meant to anybody there. Dana is the niti that we use by giving gifts. Okay. So if you have to take the other person onto your side, you can give gifts and they will agree to your viewpoint. Bheda, it means creating divisions. Okay, when there are 5 united people, you go to each person and talk bad about the others. Automatically, they will split from each other, right? So that is Bheda, creating differences amongst each other. Danda is direct punishment. That is the last one that is reserved to the end. So when you look at the Mahabharata or Mahabharata especially, you will see that all these nitis are followed at different points in time. That is why reading the Mahabharata can be a very, very enlightening experience. When we talk about the Nyaya, we'll discuss this in tomorrow's session. This is a new topic, but just for the sake of this presentation, we'll also be talking a little bit about the 6 philosophical systems: Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Sankhya, Yoga, Vedanta, and Mimamsa. I know the topics are getting a little bit heavy. I do agree, but we will stop here and take some questions. We'll continue in the next class. Just to talk about the Puranas, right? Purana are the ancient stories, and the Puranas have what is called Pancha Lakshana. I'll also highlight it in the next session in the presentation. The Puranas, you have the Sarga, Pratisarga, Vamsha, Vamshanucharita, and Manvantara. Sarga are to do with the various cosmological creations, how this entire universe came. Each Purana has a story to talk about it. The Pratisarga are to do with the various creations. How did the various beings come? Like, say, for example, how did the birds come? How did the animals come? All that is described. And the Vamsha is to do with the Surya Vamsha and Chandra Vamsha. The fundamental lineages, how did they come? The Vamshanucharita are the other Vamshas, the various smaller lineages, how did they come? The stories of the various kingdoms and kings and all that. The Manvantara are to do with the time scales. Talks about yugas, it talks about kalpas, Manvantara, Mahayuga and all that. What are the various time scales that are followed in the Puranas? So each Purana will have all these 5 components. There are various Puranas. You have Bhagavata Purana, you have Devi Bhagavatam, you have Markandeya Purana. Like that, there are several Puranas. All of these Puranas have these 5 components. Okay? So that is why reading 1 or 2 Puranas becomes very useful, because you will get the world view that is there, that is inherent to Bharat, right? So you will also understand how we measured time scales, what were the various dynasties at that point in time, and it is not just to do, it is not anthropocentric. Puranas are not just to do with terrestrial events. They talk about larger universal events as well, right? One might ask, what is the difference between a Purana and Harry Potter? Aren't both fictitious things? But now you would see that Itihasa, especially when you talk about Ramayana, Mahabharata, now there are a lot of proofs of Ramayana and Mahabharata emerging. Archaeo-astronomical evidences are coming up. Archaeology and astronomy. There are numerous astronomical verses in the Ramayana and Mahabharata, and researchers are putting it in software and trying to analyze based on that astronomical configuration which year they might have happened. And people are also now, archaeologists are finding evidences of some of these events. Of course, it's very difficult because so many civilizations have come on top of it. It's very difficult to find out the past, right? But a lot of efforts are happening. And that is why, and because our ancient people have told it's true, we also take it to be true, so that our lives are based on this faith and belief and Shraddha in the Bharatiya Parampara. Okay, I'll stop here with a prayer, and then I'll take questions.
Om
Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. If there are any questions, please do ask.
Thank you, ma'am. On behalf of the department, I request all the participants to please actively involve yourself. And as it is a very interesting area and unexplored area in the teacher education, we expect you to be more proactive in finding out the answers from the resource person. Now, it's an open forum for you all. Please, we welcome your doubts, questions, and clarifications regarding anything. Thank you.
So, ma'am, I have a question here. Like whatever you have said about our ancient, I should say, treasure, can you suggest a thing where we can start relating it to the modern education and slowly, bit by bit, increase the inquisitiveness in the children and wanting them more curious and learning? Like they should build the fondness towards these things rather than just teaching them. Can you just suggest?
Anadi Foundation has come up with a lot of Indian knowledge system books, especially for young learners, which takes the child systematically through the various knowledge systems, building a lot of interest. So that, just a second. I will just share the web page here.
Yeah, that will be great, ma'am.
So here, if you see, at Anadi Foundation, we have developed a preschool curriculum called Sadvidya. Okay. We also have a journal called Samskara, which is for developing habits. Then we have from 6 to 9 what is called Amazing IKS. Then for ages 10 plus, we have Integrated Indian Sciences and Indian Mathematics. And we also have for teachers, for older students, primer series on Ayurveda, astronomy, and the science of yoga. We also have a manual on the Indic principles of leadership. So you can take these and directly conduct activities in this. And then there is the Panchakosha pathway, which gives a detailed account of what are the Panchakosha. This is mainly for teachers, adults, homemakers, whoever wants to know about our own life and how to lead a life that is happy and healthy. So this is available. All these books are available for purchase. Anadi.org/IKS books. And take a look at it there.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
In fact, on this 26th January, we are launching a set of 40 videos for students to know about IKS. It is being launched by the Ministry of the IKS division. So Anadi Foundation has prepared 40 videos. So I will send the launch invitation to Kishore sir. He can pass it on to all of you. And please do attend the launch event on Sunday.
Sure. Thanks a lot, ma'am.
Videos will be available for everybody to watch. All the principles of Ayurveda, astronomy, mathematics, yoga are discussed in those videos.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Ma'am, good evening, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Yes, madam. What is my question is, so now present, we have to select the prayer. So what are the slokas and chanting, right, ma'am? Through chanting, rote learning. Now present, 21st century is moving through. So we can give the scope to the children. So it's related to constructivist approach. We have to develop physically, mentally, emotionally, socially, aesthetically, spiritually. All dimensions which goes to the constructive way. But you are explored, okay, good. But how can you convert it to chanting to constructive? Because we have to stay in 21st century, we have to give to the scope to the children. But how to connect to with rote learning to constructive approach to the different kinds of what are our scriptures are there? So, but Ramayana, Mahabharata. So what are there? So how can you transfer? How can you convert to learning to the constructivist approach? What is your comments on this, madam? Thank you, madam.
So when we talk about chanting, we have to differentiate it a little bit from rote learning. Okay. Now we have even the education policy says that rote learning should be avoided. So when what I'm talking about chanting is not rote learning, but a process of memory building. Just as we have memory building activities and exercises, chanting is an important way to build memory and also to build verbal intelligence. The pronunciation really helps to build certain neural circuits. Okay. So that way it becomes a very constructivist process. It should not be confused with by hearting paragraphs of science and then writing it in exam as it is in English. Okay. These are scientific verses, or these could be verses from the shlokas, Bhagavad Gita, or whatever it is. And say, for example, in a term, the child memorizes about, say, 40 to 50 verses of any text for that matter. You would see that the capability builds a lot. Like recently, we had one spell bee contest winner in the US who said that one of the reasons why the spell bee contest became easy is also because he's used to practice Bhagavad Gita chanting. So there are numerous benefits of this process.
So, ma'am, we as teachers, if we would like to follow this tradition, so I think we need to first learn the right way of chanting.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, very true. There are a lot of websites that some chants we have put it in our website, though very limited. Our website has a few chants.
Sure, ma'am. I'll take a note of it.
So if there are no further questions, we can conclude this session.
Madam, good evening, madam. Related to the activities, I mean, this course of MEd and BEd requires them to do a practicum with a field engagement. So for that, can we just give them few hints, like what kind of activities really they can take up?
Shall I give it a thought and put it in the tomorrow's presentation, ma'am?
Sure.
But it will be appropriately guided.
Yeah.
Ma'am, keeping in mind both the teacher training as well as the school children, wherein they can carry the same thing to the school also. I mean, related to these training as well as this, or else teacher education and school education. Together, if you give the engagement.
Sure. I'll
That will be.
Participants, do you have any questions for madam? Or shall we wind up? Okay, if there are no questions, at this outset, I thank Madam Anantalakshmi Garu, Matrishri Anantalakshmi, for giving us a wonderful presentation on all these aspects that are being taken care in IKS. Madam, these are all really, every day we hear so many of these terminologies. But understanding and taking them to a conduct of a practicum level is really, it's the beginning, we should say, and you have given us such a wonderful information. Because mostly in our households, in the Telugu community, we hear a lot of these terms because this language is something directly derived from the Sanskrit. So these are the most of the terms we hear from every household, and very inherited property kind of thing this is to most of the residents of Telugu. So it's really happy to find all these terminologies and knowing the technicalities behind it and why we are using it what time. And what is that, starting from your Sankalpam and Pravara and the kind of examples you have given about all these chantings, mantras and all, So it really helps us to really initiate our own thinking process and, leading us to understand Indian knowledge systems in a more insightful manner. So your presentation, we await for more things from you, ma'am. And for today, I take this opportunity to thank you immensely for enlightening us with your wonderful presentation. And we look forward for many more. Thank you so much. And thank you all the participants on behalf of Department of Education and from all our senior teachers and Professor Ravindranath K. Murthy Garu, Head and Principal of the institution, and Dr. Sunita ma'am, Board of Studies Chairperson Education, all my dear colleagues, students, and faculty from all the institutions. We thank you very much for being with us, and we'll meet you once again tomorrow in the next session. And thank you very much. Namaste to all.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.